good, and breathing fairly decent.
At 82, Ray's long history of smoking finally caught up with him, and he developed severe emphysema with associated heart failure. In hospice, each patient needs a primary caregiver, usually a member of the family. As Ray's caregiver, Frances not only provides company and support, but also helps with practical matters, such as the oxygen supply. The hospice team is composed of nurses, social workers, nurses' aides, volunteers, and many more who dedicate their lives and careers to this special calling. Each week, the team meets to problem solve and work out individual plans for each patient.
Oxygen dependent, she also uses albuterol 4 or 5 times a day.
At these meetings, each patient's case is discussed in detail. Plans are made for various aspects of care, including physical, emotional, and spiritual support, ordering of any equipment that might be needed, arrangements for therapy, visits by volunteers or other caregivers, and medication management. Helping patients and families accept the reality that faces them is a key role of the hospice team.
You know, watching that, I was just thinking, of course, you guys, when you get back to the hospital, are busy talking about the cases in that aspect. But on the front lines, having help with what kind of meals can I prepare? Why isn't Doris taking enough water? Those were things that were so helpful to have you there, Maria, to tell us that, well, try this.
And that's the whole purpose of us being there, is to provide the education so that as things happen, it might not be so scary. You know a little bit about what to expect.
Well, it is scary. I know. I was talking to Dr. Butler once. It only has to happen to you one time when you're not there, when there's a fall, for example. And just having someone, a professional, say, you know, maybe these runners, they're on the floor. They just, maybe it's time for them to go. But there are a lot of practical things, whether it's a grabber to get something out of the pantry or the grab rails in the bathroom. Who thinks about that stuff?
You don't.
No.
You really don't.
And the other thing was how many practical, mechanical things there are to help you. Special toilet seats.
Yes.
I have an inventory of things.
Baby monitors, sometimes we recommend.
Right.
Just for observation. We always come up, bed guards, bed alarms.
Right.
There's always things that we can kind of do to make the home safer.
And you know, even though, Lisa, my wife is a nurse, and but we needed help because this was such an awkward illness and so badly placed that we needed help in actually creating bandages for Doris.
And the family, you guys did a wonderful job.
Oh, thanks. Whoa.
I mean, it was a tough case.
Yeah, it really was. But Doris, bless her heart, she toughed it out and got through it and was exactly where she wanted to be.
Yes, she was.
Yeah,
in her own bed.
That's right. Now, it's time for a short break. When we come back, we will continue our discussion of hospice care with these good folks from the Torrance Memorial Medical Center Hospice Program. We'll be right back.
The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power wants to give you up to 7 free shade trees just for completing a workshop, either online or in your neighborhood. The Trees for a Green LA program offers LADWP residents over 40 different varieties of free shade trees. Trees benefit the environment, save energy, and add beauty. Get your trees by participating in an online workshop by logging on to ladwp.com/trees or call 1-800-GREEN-LA.
As kids, it's really important that we learn the proper way to cross a street. First, you have to stop at the curb, then look both ways to make sure there are no cars. If you see one, wait for it to pass, and when it's clear, you can cross. As kids, sometimes you have to set an example. Look both ways before you cross. Cars can't see you.
Welcome back to Aging in LA. Our topic today, hospice care. And as I said at the beginning of the program, this is a very personal story for me, as my family and I recently experienced the full measure of what hospice care really means. Through the efforts of our guests from the Torrance Memorial Medical Center, who were so helpful at the hospice program, and again I say thank you. Let's talk about hospice care in the future. This is going to grow, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's going to grow. With the aging population, I think as people become more familiar and more comfortable with hospice care, I absolutely think that we will see much more of it in the future.
Well, there's always this sort of ostrich mentality. You put your head in the sand, and yet we all come to the end of life. And to understand that there are people who have dedicated their professional lives to dealing with these things, as you have, Maria.
It's another step in our journey.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've found almost universally is that people do not like to talk about death.
Absolutely.
You know, their own or anybody else's. That just doesn't happen to us, you know. We're not going to do that.
Which is a big misconception. I mean, you can have an accident at any time. It's so important to discuss advanced directives when you're young. No, don't wait until you're sick. Those are things that you should be talking about with your family members so that they know what it is that you want when that time comes, whenever that may be, and so they can respect your wishes.
And to have a packet. You brought a packet for us to actually look at, you know, well, what are your orders here?
Absolutely.
Do you have do not resuscitate orders? What are we going to do if there's a crisis? And it was accessible. You know, I know there were times when the subject was so difficult, I would rely on that and say, here, you look at this. Tell me what you think is the next step. But you bring other tools to the equation. Most people would have no idea that there are different kind of therapies that can be employed to make a person more comfortable.
The occupational therapist can be very helpful, and our occupational therapist also does a life review and can facilitate doing a scrapbook or making a video memorial, or she does things like that.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, because there are many tasks left undone at the end of life. You know, a graduation that you won't be able to attend, and yet a video greeting is wonderful. I like those things.
Good services. Really, it's very much a team sport.
Well, I mean,
team effort.
It is a team. I mean, and there are social workers, nurses, volunteers,
the aides,
the
physical
aides.
therapists.
And when we do have our weekly meetings, we're all there, and we get everybody's input. The spiritual services, we have a chaplain that's at all of our meetings as well.
And that can be critically important.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much fear involved. Now, when I mentioned when we first saw each other earlier today, I said that J.C. and I had talked about how we wish we had started the hospice program earlier, because it really did relieve that burden. And rather than having 2 months of the service, I would have loved to have had 4. I know my nights would have been much more comfortable and that. Now, what about those patients that really need sort of around-the-clock caregiving services, but there's no one in their family? Are there enough aides and volunteers to help cover those moments of isolation?
We can cover periods of time. That is probably the one thing we don't supply is a 24-hour caretaker, but we do have volunteers that will go out and spend hours, not as a caretaker, but they're good eyes and ears to have in the home. The nurses generally, they have a caseload, so you have your patients that you sort of manage with my supervision, and the nurses will go out 2 to 3 times a week depending on what the needs are, and actually when things get critical we'll go out and do daily visits. We have patients that in fact just last week we had a patient that was having a lot of difficulty with pain management in the home, so we did bring him into the hospital to get his pain under control. It allowed some time for his wife to get a little bit of a break. It's been rough for her, but it worked out completely successfully. He went home feeling much more comfortable, and now we have him on a regimen that's working much better for him in the home. So.
Well, it's always so difficult to balance mental awareness and yet the need to combat pain, because we all hate to see people we care about suffer. But boy, you don't want to sort of like knock them out either.
Right. You want to be spending time with them.
Well,
and
exactly.
having those conversations and having good quality, and that's being sedated is not the answer to that either. So you have to find that nice balance.
And the other part I liked is the number on the portfolio that was left with us. It's there, and just knowing that here's a number that you can call,
Which is a 24-hour number.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. You get through to the nurse. The nurses can reach me 24/7 as well. If we need to, we'll mobilize out to the home in the middle of the night. Absolutely.
Let's take another look at the video from the Torrance Memorial Medical Center Hospice Program, this time featuring home health aides and volunteers that assist in the program.
As part of the care plan, hospice can arrange for home health aides who can relieve the primary caregiver by helping with bathing and meal preparation. Another key member of the hospice team is the volunteer.
We have a lot of people that do on the hospice team. We have bath aides and nurses and social workers and stuff. The volunteers are really there to be. They're with the patient and the family. They're simply there to be there, to be with them. As I said, listening to their story, reminiscing about their life, listening to the music of their time, reading poetry to them. You know, and the volunteers come with open arms. They come not with a job, not with a task, just to be there, just to be there for that family and that patient.
Now, the role of volunteers and aides, how wonderful that people, I mean, they're truly angelic in spirit to face this because they know what they're walking into.
And so many of our volunteers have experienced the loss. That's sometimes how they come into the program.
And you can understand that motivation. I know, there are so many times I look back and I think, I just missed by a little of knowing either when to say the right thing or do the right thing. And I think with someone I wasn't so close to, I would be better at it, you know, and that's a good motivation. Now, how do volunteers, if they feel a calling to do this, and it is a calling, I think, how do they get in contact with you? How do they get in contact with Torrance Memorial Hospice Program?
They can just call us, and certainly we would put them in touch with Ellen, our volunteer coordinator. We currently have 72 volunteers, which is great. They provide not only conversational visits and just spending time with patients, but they'll do hair cutting.
Right, and there's the number and the website on your screen, folks. I always tell our viewers to please have a piece of paper and pencil with you. I'm sorry, now you were saying...
Yeah, please call us.
Yes.
We would love any volunteers, assistance, anything.
And volunteering can be most anything, driving or
if you're a patient and or a family member and you are interested in hospice services, please call us.
Right.
We do get a lot of referrals, just sort of self-referrals, probably more so than we do physician referrals. So again, we want to get people in our program early.
Well, and it's not like the program ends when the patient passes. I know I appreciate those follow-up calls that come in once a month. How are you doing, Paul? How's your wife doing? How's the family?
The bereavement program.
Because that's important. Now, unfortunately, our time is up for today's edition of Aging in L.A. Thanks so much to our guests from the Torrance Memorial Medical Center Hospice Program, who was such a comfort to my family. Thank you to Dr. Lisa Humphreys and Maria Sowers, RN, for joining us. And now, it's time for our feature on Aging in LA, Senior Stat Shots, where we look at statistics that pertain to senior citizens. We found today's statistics in the recently released LA County Seniors Count, a survey of the older adult population in Los Angeles City and County. We have featured this survey on our program. We find that some seniors encounter various amounts of difficulty in performing the following daily tasks. For example, 70% of seniors have no difficulty in getting in and out of bed, but 19% have a minor difficulty, 5% have serious difficulty, and about 2% are unable to do so. When it comes to preparing meals, 68% have no difficulty, 15% have a minor difficulty, 6% a serious difficulty, and 6% are unable to do so. Now, as far as eating meals is concerned, 82% report they do not find it difficult, 10% have a minor difficulty, 2% a serious difficulty, and 1% of seniors in LA County are unable to eat on their own. What about using the telephone? 79% do not find it difficult at all, 11% have a minor difficulty, 3% a serious difficulty, and 2% are unable to use a phone. In our next program, we will look at statistics that show who gives seniors assistance in these daily tasks if they need it. And that's today's Senior Stat Shot. Now, you can get your own copy of this fact-filled survey by simply going online to www.ladcss.org, which is Los Angeles County Community and Senior Services, and you just click on LA County Seniors Count, and the full report will appear. Or you can have a copy sent to you by calling area 213-738-2065. That's area code 213-738-2065. I'm Paul Peterson for the Los Angeles Department of Aging, the people here at CityView Channel 35, and all of our guests on aging in LA. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Lisa, thank you so much for...
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Good morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to the City Council meeting for Friday, April 29th, 2011. We're here in the John Farrow Council Chambers, room 340 of the City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Every Friday we have a special set of presentations of notable Angelenos, organizations making a difference, and important dates for our city. And we have 8 presentations today. So, colleagues, I would ask folks to try to keep the presentations within the time limits that we have as council policy. And with that, we have 2 great presentations to start off with Councilmember Tom LaBonge from Council District 4, and after that we'll hear from Council District 10. Tom LaBonge.
Oh, Mr. President, thank you. Good morning to everybody in John Farrow Chambers. This is the day we celebrate the Fill the Boot campaign for the Muscular Dystrophy Association for the great work that they have done with our firefighters. I'm pitching in for Tony Cardenas. Asked me to make this very special presentation. And right here we have is Aaron Kelly, who's the Executive Director for Southern California MDA, and we know our very own Pat McCosker. The firefighters started this program in 1954, working with Jerry Lewis. And let's give a big hand for Jerry Lewis and all he does for the kids and the MDA. This year, like every year, they take this boot, they go and they stand in a safe spot in a street corner and they fill the boot. And thousands of dollars are raised for the MTA. We want to salute the MDA for what they have done, and also for Mr. McCosker and all firefighters throughout Los Angeles and Los Angeles County. They collected over $57,000 on Wednesday, $63,000 on Thursday, and another $57,000 on Friday, for a grand total of $178,683, beating last year's total by nearly $25,000. This is an important program that helps the mission of the MDA in helping children. In the following weeks and months, the fire department across Southern California will continue this program to help enhance the opportunity to do something for others. Right now, I'm going to call on Aaron right now to say a few words on behalf of the Metro Air chapter of the MDA. Aaron Kelly.
Okay, well, thank you for having us. The association that I work for, we provide health care and support services for thousands of folks in Los Angeles and the surrounding counties, and we're just very thankful to the City of Los Angeles and the Los Angeles City firefighters for raising such an impressive amount and allowing us to continue providing health care services to the people that we serve. So. I'm going to turn it over to someone that's better at this than me.
Well, he's real. He works tonight at Station 101, which is all the way protecting the San Pedro area, but throughout the city. Please welcome Pat McCosker, engineer, LAFD.
Appreciate it. I guess we're getting a commendation and a plaque, but really we're here to thank you very much. Thanks for letting us do this. I want to thank the Fire Department Administration, the MDA folks, Councilmember Cardenas, who couldn't be here because of a death, I guess, in the immediate family of his Chief of Staff, which we're really sorry to hear. But all of you for letting us be there for Jerry's kids. You know, you hire firefighters, right? You test folks. We go through a rigorous physical test. We go through a rigorous medical exam to make sure that we're as healthy as can be, so that you put young men and women out there for the public with strong backs and willing hearts and hard heads sometimes to be there for people in their time of need. And then we're anxious and eager to do whatever it takes, you know, to help people. And then you have the MDA folks come to us and say, would you guys mind helping raising some money for Jerry's kids? And it's a no-brainer, you know, for us. These are young people who have dreams and hopes too, but because of disease that we haven't yet fully cured, you know, sometimes they're unable to do what they'd like to do to achieve their dreams. So it's a no-brainer for us. We look for opportunities like this, and the reason I want to thank you is because to the extent that you're putting firefighters in the community, supporting us being out there for people, you're making that difference. You're saving lives, and you're making a difference for, you know, Jerry's kids in terms of our raising money. So thank you very much. We should be honoring you today.
Oh, no, Patrick, that's very good of you. But now, Aaron, step up here. On behalf of Tony Cardenas, Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, the whole City Council, including our City Attorney, Carmen Tutanich, and our Controller, Wendy Gruhl, this commendation is to the Muscular Dystrophy Association 2011 Fill the Boot campaign. Good job. Here we go. We'll take a picture of the background. Thank you very much. Mr. President, thank you very much. Since I got 149 left, I'm going to do a quick introduction right here. Again, a big hand for our firefighters right now and the MDA. We all know how special the world is, and in the world of ours, we have our very special Rotary Clubs. The Rotary Club of Los Angeles has 4 very special people in a group exchange from Bangladesh. And as you know, just last year, we honored the Bengal community with Little Bangladesh in Los Angeles, the designation in the Wilshire Center, Koreatown, that Avak was so helpful on in putting this together. And it's my honor to call on the very special district chief, if I could say that here, John. Is that correct way?
Not
Give
really.
him your right title, if you would.
Thank you. I'm just the International Director of Wilshire Rotary Club of Los Angeles. But we're very thankful to the City Council for allowing these people to come down here and be recognized by you and to see how our city works. And they're very, very great tourists, and to accept them the way we do, will promote more tourism, I think. And that's what we're after.
John Moran, very good here. Give us a first shout-out right there.
First is Sajid Mehdi.
Sajid, welcome.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Hamil Haq Sabi.
Sajid.
Good job.
Thank you. Tamana.
Tamana Khan. Good job. Thank you. Marina Islam Muhammad. And finally, please welcome Taveed Ajur Khashoggi. So we're going to say, and one thing about the Bangladesh people that I always mention, of all the people in the world to step up for some other community, the late great George Harrison had the first concert for the challenges of Bangladesh, which led to a whole movement now where they have concerts to raise money for needy people and the tragedy that hit Bangladesh in 1972. Let's hear it for all the people from Bangladesh. We'll take a picture in the back. Madam President, we thank you. Say just thank you in Bangladesh.
Thank you so much from Bangladesh. Thank you.
Say it in your language.
সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ.
সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Our next presentation will be from Council President Eric Garcetti.
Father, right? Thank you very much, Madam President. And I'm here to celebrate an amazing member, longtime stakeholder in the Hollywood community. Since I took office in 2001, I've had the pleasure, as has my colleague in Hollywood, Tom Labange, of working with Father Michael Mandala, whose commitment to Blessed Sacrament Church in the heart of Hollywood, 3 blocks away from where the Academy Awards are, the most famous neighborhood anywhere in the world, his commitment to that neighborhood, to his fellow human being, is as inspiring as it has been generous. In the heart of Hollywood, Father Mike has dedicated himself to those who need him the most. I remember still probably the largest group of constituents that I've met with. About 2 years into office, I appeared with Mayor Hahn in Blessed Sacrament to confront in 2003 the crisis of affordable housing in Hollywood. We were seeing the beginning of a turnaround in Hollywood, but we wanted to be very careful to make sure that the positive aspects of the transition, a reduction in crime, new businesses opening, tourists staying, didn't result in those who had been there to help bring about that change getting pushed out of their own neighborhood. Father Michael and the church brought over 1,000 people there to ask Mayor Hahn and I to build 700, I think, units of affordable housing. And we said yes to the challenge. We together looked at locations, church parking lots, empty lots that the city had, other places that we could build affordable housing. We're able to, because of his action and that inspiration, build over 1,000 units of affordable housing to go parallel with the Hollywood Renaissance to make sure that we were able to put the folks who were washing the dishes at a new hotel right there in the same neighborhood that they had always lived in, alongside folks who were coming in to live in new luxury condominiums as well. Father Mike has been a great friend and a really strong advocate. He's somebody who, through humor, with a smile, but also with his passion, has always been able to stand up and to move people, touch their hearts and move their conscience on issues of social and economic justice. He has sheltered those without a home, taking people who have lost their way and set them on a secure path. He's not leaving Los Angeles, but he is moving from Hollywood. And so we are going to be very glad that he stays here in the LA area as he moves on to Verbum Dei High School in Watts, where he's going to help young people connect with jobs that they need as they graduate and as they look forward to being a part of the local economy here. But it was really in Hollywood that I think we've been able to change the way things are done. And I can think of no stronger pillar in the many pillars that we have built this new foundation on than Father Michael Mandala. In John chapter 15, verse 13, which I'm sure he can quote, by heart, Jesus taught his disciples that greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Father Mandala is a friend to everyone. Having devoted his life in service to others, we will miss him deeply in Hollywood. When I heard the news, it was like a kick to the stomach. But knowing that he was going to be in Watts and doing incredible work, and Ms. Hahn, you're very lucky to get Father Mike working in your district now. It is a great thing for you, and hopefully you can go visit him at Verbum Dei. We know that that in Watts you'll soon come to know what we know in Hollywood, that Father Mike's compassion knows no bounds, his dedication knows no limit, his understanding is infinite, and because of him, many people's lives have been saved. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to my great friend and colleague from Hollywood as well, Tom LaBonge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti. The great thing, this is a man, east side of Los Angeles, Montebello High School.
No, Cantwell High School.
Cantwell High School. Okay, I got it there. Very good. I know. That's 3 Hail Marys and 4 All Fathers. I'm sorry for that mistake. But he chose a vocation. Is that the correct way to say? Of love of people. And there's nothing like people who have faith. And faith is a very important thing, and we believe greatly in the Constitution of the United States, Father.
Yes, sir.
But there is a very important thing as a separation of church and state, but not church and community, mosque and community, temple and community, and you've been all community. And Eric, you've been so lucky to have a great man who really walks the streets of Hollywood, who works with the people. When you see all the people who are on the steps of Blessed Sacrament, that's where Jesus would want them. To find help and guidance.
All right.
And so I just want to thank you. You're just a loss for Hollywood, for a gain for Watts and Verbum Dei and the great program that they're doing at Verbum Dei. So I'm pleased to join with Mr. Garcetti to talk about a great man who, through a period of time, there's also times when the spotlight's on people. There's a spotlight on those in your vocation. You're there, you're real, and you've fought through the storm, and you continue. So I love you, and congratulations. It's a sad day, but a great day.
Thank you.
Because you get to serve more people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so we'd love to present this resolution to you on behalf of all the work that you have done. You could have just clocked in and done the basic work, but you did so much more than that. You went above and beyond. You organized the community. You made it happen. And so on behalf of this entire city council and the mayor in our city, we thank you for your work. Term limits stink. We can say that, whether it's for politicians or priests, but we know that you're going to continue to do great work. So here it is. And ladies and gentlemen, Father Michael Mandala.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much.
And go ahead. The microphone is yours. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Council President Garcetti, thank you for the honor that you have bestowed on me today and on Blessed Sacrament Parish. It has been a privilege to work with you over the past 13 years. You and our neighbor, Councilman Tom LaBonge, who always threatens to come to the church. And I think we're all here today happy that the Lakers won, right? That's why we're here. So, among other things that Council President Garcetti has done is he's helped us we've counted on his support for our social services at Blessed Sacrament as we go through a remodeling of the old convent building, which will allow us to serve the homeless better. He's even helped us with curbside parking during our carnival, and Valerie Milano runs our carnival, so she's particularly grateful. Mr. Garcetti, as you know, Blessed Sacrament is one of the founding churches of LA Voice Pico. We have labored along with you on many issues. After hard work, we have seen many victories. The 800 or 1,000 units of affordable housing has been built in Hollywood as a result of our working together. Community benefits agreement has been executed with the Hollywood and Vine development that is going well. Thank you both. Gower Villas, the permanent supportive housing for homeless, is underway and going. These are some of the victories that we've had. And at present, we count on your support, both of you and the Council, as we urge the Council to pass the Responsible Banking Initiative so that... Good. So as to provide capital for home mortgage modifications and for local businesses to be able to create jobs. So I want to thank you again, Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Labange. I want to thank you for both of you, but especially you, Eric, for your hard work in District 13 and for the City of Los Angeles as the President of the Council. I'm sure we'll stay in contact. As I move to my next assignment at Verbum High School, I look forward to working with Council Member Hahn, who's here, and also with your neighbors, Council Member Bernard Parks and Jan Perry. So we're trying to create the best city for all of the people. Thank you all, and let's pass the Responsible Banking Initiative.
Yeah. Wait, Eric, one more thing I wanted to... Please. Flowers. And from the Monastery of the Angels, love of Punka Bread. Father Mike's an angel in the City of Angels. 2 angels.
Bread and flowers.
We're going to circus out back here. Come on back, we'll take a picture together.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Next, I call upon Council Member Krikorian.
Well, they got persons there. He's great, wasn't he? You have persons. Okay. Tell me who you go.
Members, Los Angeles is known throughout the world as the place that young people can come and make their dreams come true in Hollywood by launching careers in film and television, and we know that for much of the last 100 years that dream has come true for thousands and thousands of young performers. But we also know that Hollywood can be a difficult place for young performers, and that there are those who would take advantage of those dreams and ambitions. I want to take a moment today to recognize the work of Biz Parents Foundation, which has been the leading advocate of young people in the film and television industry. Founded in 2004, the Biz Parents Foundation is a nonprofit that's provided education, advocacy, and charitable support to parents and children who are engaged in the entertainment industry. The organization has promoted a positive image of child performers and also has educated the public and those performers about the safety and rights of child performers, including child labor laws and regulations. Biz Parents is a collaborative effort of parents, government, and industry organizations whose members have actively helped others by bringing legislative issues to the forefront, researching industry solutions, and writing educational articles and hosting special events. When I was a member of the state legislature, it was my great pleasure to work very closely with Biz Parents in enacting the Krikorian Talent Scam Prevention Act, which is right now being used to give the city attorney the tools that they need to go after those who would prey upon young people in this industry, the fake talent agencies and managers who basically defraud young people and take advantage of their hopes and dreams and essentially steal money from them in pursuing that and provide no services for them. And thanks to that legislation, thanks to the advocacy of Biz Parents, we now have the tools in place to go after those crooks who are preying upon our young people. Biz Parents founders Ann Henry and Paula Dorn have become sought-after media and legislative experts on the subject of young performers, and they're both here with us today. They, through their own website, they've contributed to multiple national publications, web-based venues, and television shows in the U.S., Canada, the UK, and even Brazil. The support of hundreds of volunteers is also crucial to the success of Biz Parents. They have no paid staff, and they rely completely on the generosity of their members, agents, managers, casting directors, union officials, and of course show business parents and families have all contributed in various ways. This Saturday, tomorrow, at Universal Studios, Biz Parents is the sponsor of the CARE Awards, which will honor well-rounded professional young performers. The awards are not only an acknowledgement of their work, but also of their training, their community service, their education, and their parents' efforts to be educated about the business. This year will mark the 7th annual CARE Awards event, and the proceeds from this event will be used to fund parent education, including additional printed materials, website enhancement, legislative efforts such as the one I mentioned, research and assistance regarding internet safety, and one-on-one parent support. So I'm very pleased to be able to recognize Ann Henry and Paula Dorn for their incredible, persistent advocacy and work on behalf of young people in the film and television industry. Ann, congratulations. Paula, good to see you. And I also want to take a moment to recognize Deputy City Attorney Mark Lambert, who's here with us today. Mark Lambert has single-handedly taken on the crooks in this industry. He was instrumental in helping me to draft the legislation that I mentioned that enables local prosecutors throughout California to take on these fraud artists. And that legislation is now the national model that's being adopted by jurisdictions throughout America, largely due to the effort and the persistence of Mark Lambert. So I want to recognize him for his advocacy and for the great work that he does in prosecuting these crooks. Mark, congratulations to you. And would you like to speak?
Councilman, thank you very much for this, but thank you more for your support of child actors. There are more than 20,000 professional child actors working in Los Angeles today. That's a lot of kids, and it's a lot of kids who are working hard professionally, but also keeping their grades up, going to school, doing community service, contributing to charities around the city. Those kids are very appreciative of your support of them and your support of Child Actor Day that we are celebrating tomorrow. We will be doing the event at Universal Studios, but we will also be celebrating online because that's what kids do these days. So we will be we have a whole little website for the kids to get some downloadable things, send each other e-cards and all kinds of good stuff. Our point is to try and encourage kids to not become Lindsay Lohan, to not become Britney Spears, to see that there is a way to balance an industry and to recognize it as an industry, but also handle their grades and handle their family life and balance themselves. So our goal is to make that positive for the 20,000 kids, knowing that there's 4 or 5 ones that we see in the news all the time, but the other 19,000 are doing just fine and are very appreciative of your support. Thank you.
And I'll just echo what Ann said, which is what I do best. And just thank you. We're really honored. We work really hard, and we don't seek out any recognition for it. So it's very nice to have a little bit of that today. Thank you.
And if I may, Madam President, I just want to take a moment again to thank City Attorney Trutanich and his deputy, Mark Lambert, who really have, again, set the national standard in prosecuting those who try to defraud our young people and their parents and steal not only their money, but their dreams and their hopes and their ambitions for a career in this industry. And so I'd like to welcome to the podium Deputy City Attorney Mark Lambert and our City Attorney, Mr. Trutanich.
I'm going to be very brief. Mark is basically the national leader in this issue in terms of the law. He created this issue along with Paul's help with the legislation that Paul did when he was in Sacramento. And today, the City Attorney's Office of Los Angeles is the go-to office nationwide on the issue of talent and agents. And with that, I'm going to leave it to Mark. Mark is a prime example of what we have in our office, the lawyers that are dedicated to the safety of the people of the city. Thank you.
I want to thank Councilman Krikorian for authoring this landmark legislation, which has allowed us to, in the City Attorney's Office, to really do our best to protect the public, which is what we do. I want to thank the City Attorney, Carmen Trutanich, for allowing that as well and giving us great support. I just want you to know that, of course, when we prosecute these cases, we can't begin to protect the public like we can when we get the word out. And everybody who complains to me, and I get hundreds of complaints a year, sometimes more, I refer them to biz parents because they're the people who give parents support and let them know that they're not doing anything wrong. There's a legitimate place for parents and kids in the business, and they shouldn't be subject to scam artists and predators as well. So I really appreciate you allowing me to speak, and I really appreciate Councilman Krikorian and my boss. Thank you.
Mr. Wesson. Mr. Wesson, do you want to speak? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Krikorian. And since we have 12 people here at this time, Madam Clerk, I'd like to run quickly through the agenda.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, LaBranche, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 12 members present, and a quorum, Madam President.
All right. Next order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Weezer moves, Ms. Hahn seconds.
Commendatory resolutions.
Mr. Wesson moves, Mr. Smith seconds.
Items 1 and 2 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right. Why don't you open the roll on that?
Okay. And there's a card on item number 2.
Okay. All right. We'll open the roll on 1. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
All right. Next order of business.
On the continuation agenda, items 3 and 4 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Any cards on those items?
No cards.
Okay, then let's open the roll on those. Yeah. 4 on the continuation? Regular.
4 special.
4 special on the continuation?
This is an amending ordinance.
Okay, it's an amending ordinance. Okay. All right, so you open the roll on those last items and we close the roll?
Madam President, I believe there is an amending motion circulating for item number 3. Would you like to hold that on the desk?
Yes. Next order of business?
Would you like to take a public comment or a return to presentations?
We need to take care of the ordinances while we have...
4 is the only ordinance.
3 and 4 are the only ordinances. All right, we have cards on any of those? Fine, that's fine. We can hold them on the desk. We will hold 3 and 4 on the desk. Next order of business, ma'am? Madam Clerk? We'll hold 3 and 4 on the desk then. And what's our next order of business?
That takes you back to items called special or public comment.
Okay, we're going to go back to presentations for now. And Mr. Reyes, is your presentation ready? All right, we'll call Mr. Reyes to the podium.
Gracias, si gusta. Okay. Good morning, colleagues. Muy buenos días. Nicaraguans have immigrated to the United States in small groups since the early 1900s. But the presence was especially felt over the last 3 decades of the 20th century. The Nicaraguan community has concentrated in 3 major urban areas: Miami, New York City, and Los Angeles. Approximately 400,000 Nicaraguans have made the United States their home. Currently, it's estimated over 100,000 live in the Los Angeles region. Many waves of immigration have taken place in the last century, but the catalyst for the last wave was the Civil War. During the 1979 uprising, many families left Nicaragua. The Sandinista Revolution during the 1980s brought a wave of Nicaraguan refugees into the U.S. and the largest wave of documented immigrants. Over 62% of the total documented immigration from 1979 to 1988 occurred after 1984. Another motive for immigration during the 80s was the Contra War. Many Nicaraguans who immigrated did so to escape poverty. Many in our city have opened small businesses, restaurants, have been involved in many local neighborhood projects. They're starting their own media outlets, newspaper, cable television. And I've been very, very fortunate and say honored to be able to work with this community in our city, to see it emerge in formulating their own social infrastructure, their own advocacy groups, their own educational development programs. And it is because of this effort and their presence and contribution to our great city, it is my pleasure to declare May 3rd as El Día del Nicaragüense. Thank you, colleagues, for your support. A big round of applause for this grand, grand day. Thank you very much. With me are the strong advocates who have made this possible. They've circulated within their own community throughout the city. The Comité Cultural Nicaragüense is led by Camilo Astacio, Yolanda Gutierrez, and Consul General Jose Alberto Acevedo. And before I present the resolution to the Consul, I'd like to ask him to share a few words with us. I give you Consul General Jose Alberto Acevedo.
Buenas. Muchas gracias por este gran día que estamos celebrando los nicaragüenses en la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
Thank you very much for this great day that we Nicaraguans are celebrating in this great city of Los Angeles, the Day of the Nicaraguan.
Como es la proclama del Día Nicaragüense aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
Today is the proclamation of the Nicaraguans Day here in the city of Los Angeles.
Esta proclama del Día Nicaragüense ha ayudado a nuestra comunidad a unirnos más.
This proclamation has helped our community to get more unity.
Y me hago acompañar aquí de empresarios, amigos.
I am here with businessmen and friends.
Y por supuesto de una gran representación de lo que es los dirigentes de las comunidades nicaragüenses.
And of course, a great representation of what it is the Nicaraguan community.
El año pasado, nosotros, producto de estas resoluciones del Concilio de Los Ángeles, que nos ha honrado con el Día del Nicaragüense,
last year, due to this resolution that the council members gave us this great resolution for the Day of the Nicaraguan,
celebramos con un gran festival y que sirvió para llevar una gran ayuda a Nicaragua.
Yeah, last year we celebrated with a great festival, and it helped us to be able to send great help to Nicaragua.
Esa ayuda consistió en el apoyo a una brigada médica que sirvió en el pueblo de Somoto.
The help that we sent was very useful to have a group of medical group to help in the town of Somoto.
Que brindó ayuda en medicamentos, operaciones, servicios dentales, ortopedia y otros servicios médicos a más de 8,000 nicaragüenses.
They were able to provide medical help to more than 8,000 Nicaraguans with medication, with surgeries, or orthopedics, and a lot of dental and a lot of other medical services.
Y este año continuamos con esta gran jornada y vamos a celebrarla este día de mañana y el próximo domingo.
This year we are going to continue with that great work, and we are going to celebrate tomorrow and Sunday.
Y vamos a llevar a otra brigada médica con 80 componentes médicos.
We are going to take to Nicaragua another medical team, and they are going to be 80.
Quiero dar las gracias en nombre del pueblo y gobierno de Nicaragua.
I want to thank you in name of the people and the government of Nicaragua
por este gran apoyo que le dan a la comunidad nicaragüense,
for this great support that you are giving to the Nicaraguan community.
Que nos ayuda a cada día estar más unidos.
This helps us to every day have more unity.
A promover nuestra cultura,
to promote our culture,
nuestro folclore,
our folklore,
y ayudarnos a conocer a todos los nicaragüenses que vivimos aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
And to help each other to know all the Nicaraguans that live here in the city of Los Angeles.
Muchas gracias, concejal Reyes, y a todos ustedes.
Thank you to all of you.
Muchas gracias. Just briefly, I'd like to ask Yolanda Gutierrez and Camilo Asacio for a few words.
Muy buenos días a todos. Es un gran placer para mí estar en esta representación. Un día tan grande para mi pueblo, un día para todos mis nicaragüenses. Nosotros vamos a tener también...
Good morning, all of you. It's a great pleasure for me and to be able to be here in representation of all my Nicaraguans.
Dándole gracias a todas las personas que están aquí.
I want to thank everybody that is here today.
En este gran día, para nosotros es maravilloso. También nos invitamos para el próximo domingo, que vamos a tener una feria.
In this great day for us, this is wonderful. We are going to have a great event
con el fin de ayudar a las personas ancianas de nuestro pueblo.
On May the 8th, and we are doing this
país, Nicaragua,
to help the senior citizens in our country, Nicaragua.
Nos sentimos muy honrados con la presencia de todos ustedes.
Yeah, we have a great honor to be here with all of you here.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for recognizing for Nicaragua Day. I take this opportunity for represented at the award for the Concejal Ed Reyes for the community and the Comité Cultural. I give you the award for your apoyo a la comunidad nicaragüense. Dice, Comité Cultural Nicaragüense José de la Cruz Menas, unidos por la cultura, raíces y tradiciones, le otorga el presente reconocimiento al señor Ed Reyes, concejal primer distrito de Los Ángeles, por el apoyo brindado al reconocimiento de la comunidad nicaragüense, dado en la ciudad de Los Ángeles 29 de abril del 2011.
Muchas gracias.
This is a recognition we are giving to our great council members.
This is beautiful. Thank you very much. I love to present this resolution. Again, I want to thank my colleagues for signing this. Our mayor, our city attorney, Kamcha Chanich, and our city clerk, in proclaiming Día del Nicaragüense. Felicidades.
Thank you. And Mr. Garcetti has something to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Very briefly, thank you, Councilmember Reyes, and thank you for your great leadership with the Central American community. And this is a great day for a great country as well. Es un gran día por un gran país también. Viajé a Nicaragua hace 2 años y viajé a Managua, Granada, Ometepe, Little Corn Island. Es un país increíble. You said that I went a couple of years ago to Nicaragua and traveled throughout the country to see it. I have many Nicaraguans who are my constituents as well, like Mr. Reyes, and the contributions of Nicaraguans here in Los Angeles has been incredible, second to none. The courage, the folks who made the journey to come here, the work that they do to make our city strong, but the friendship between our two countries. We hope by this recognition that Mr. Reyes has led the way, that we can continue to make sure that that friendship in good times and bad only gets stronger and stronger. So muchísimas gracias por venir, and adelante. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I believe we will go, Councilmember Parks, would you like to do, I was told to do, okay, Mr. Garcetti, you outrank me.
Come on here.
Mr. City Attorney. Welcome.
And toss it over to you, or what do you want?
You know what, you can head it
I'll
up.
do brief and then I'll toss it over. Okay. We got 2 sets because we had one from before.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm going to quickly throw this over to my great friend and colleague, our wonderful City Attorney Carmen Nuch-Trutanich. Always happy to welcome him here to our council chambers, and excited to join with him today as he honors with me an incredible, not only former city employee, but an incredible American, Deputy City Attorney and Colonel Ken Huey. I know Nuch has a lot to say, but let me just say a couple things to you, Ken, on behalf of the council very briefly, and as a fellow serviceman, I guess. As a naval officer, I know how difficult it is to become a combat pilot. But you are the best and the brightest, proven that you've excelled in not just one, but two, not just two, but 3 high-level careers. You could have retired as a hero more than 30 years ago, but you continued your service first in the defense industry and then as a prosecutor. You're an inspiration. I've always loved prosecutors for some reason in my family, and I've always been very proud to honor those who have been willing to put their lives forward for our nation. And just want to say how lucky we are to have you, not only as an Angelino, but as a hero to our nation. And with that, for the longer words, come on over here and please welcome our great City Attorney, Carmen Nuch-Trutanich.
Madam President, this presentation today should have special meaning to you because he is a longtime San Pedro prosecutor. I'm sure you know Ken and you've known him a long time. Everybody in this council chamber should open your ears right now because you're going to hear a story about a true American. There is so much to say about Ken Huey. Ken gave me specific instructions not to talk about some of his flying expositions, and I'm going to say, Ken, in the military there's a chain of command. And in the city attorney's office there's a chain of command, so I'm not going to listen to him. But Ken is here with his wife of 58 years, Sue. Here she is. And his son, Ken Jr., who couldn't have a better example, his daughter-in-law, Julie, and his 2 grandchildren, Ashley and Courtney. 13 years ago, Ken Huey started with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, and you could say, 13 years, that's not a very long career. Well, that was because Ken Huey had already spent 30 years in the military and had 3 careers before he started with the 4th career. He was in the military from the age of 17, 1949 through 1979. Here comes a stat that's going to floor everybody. Ken Huey flew 564 combat missions in Vietnam and Southeast Asia, approximately 1,100 hours of combat flying time for this country. He flew from Vietnam from 1965 through 1967. The rumor about, and I know Ken will say it's not proven, so he doesn't want me to say it, but the rumor is that Ken Huey flew more combat sorties than any other pilot ever. The bad news is he was shot down over Vietnam, over North Vietnam. He was captured and held as a prisoner of war for 6 years, from July 1967 through March of 1973. He was a resident of the infamous Hanoi Hilton, along with Senator John McCain. While he was there, they transferred him for a 9-month stint to a camp, another camp, after the Tet Offensive. He spent 9 months in solitary confinement in this camp after the Tet Offensive. He was the only military pilot at that camp. There were a number of civilians that were stationed there whose names he got to know, and he was able to provide their names to the government to have those people saved when the war was ended. So he became a very important piece of intelligence for the United States of America when he was transferred back to the Hanoi Hilton. He was released, and when he was released, you would think that that's a hell of a career. But he went on and got his master's degree in English at Cal State Long Beach. Then he continued with his Air Force career until he retired in 1979 as a colonel with 2 stars, 2 Silver Stars, 3 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 2 Bronze Stars, and 30 Air Medals and 4 Purple Hearts. After he retired from the Air Force, he started a new career at Hughes Air Force Aircraft Company, where he worked for the next 15 years as an aerospace administrator and aerospace engineer. Now, at 65, when most people are thinking about retiring, that's not in the blood of Ken Huey. This record-breaking fighter pilot, ex-Vietnam POW, aerospace administrator, starts taking classes at the University of West Los Angeles School of Law and gets his law degree, passes the bar exam right before his 65th birthday. The twice retired Ken Huey then began working in private practice and eventually got a place with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office because of your brother. He's been a hard-working, dedicated guy. I've known Ken, I can't even think of the day I met Ken. I've known him for so long, but the whole time I've known him, both as a DA, as a private practitioner, and as a city attorney, he has been an honorable guy. And now it's time for him to pull the plug. But he's not pulling the plug. He's going into private practice to start a 5th career. Ken Huey, I think, is 79? 79 years old, 79 years young, and starting his 5th career. Ken Huey is an example of what American heroes are all about. Everyone in this council chamber should be proud to even stand in the same room with a man who has this kind of experience. Thank you very much, Madam President.
And the city attorney and I would like to, somebody who's done that much deserves 2 certificates. I'll give the big one to our city attorney, but in appreciation, this was on the day of the retirement. This is to express for the entire city, really your entire career, which is an ongoing one. This was from Mr. Koretz and I, and this is from everybody here, including our city attorney, of course. But ladies and gentlemen, please join us in thanking a great American and congratulating him for his service to the city of Los Angeles and this nation, Kenneth R. Huey.
I don't know how much time you have, Janice. I don't know how much time you have, Councilwoman, but if you could hear the story of his capture, it is just heart-telling.
I want to hear that. Councilmember Rosendahl, I know you'd like to say a few words.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I keep this hat in my drawer here as a veteran from the Vietnam era, having been drafted and served my country. one of my assignments was as 91 Gulf 20. I was a psychiatric social worker, and I saw 8 or 9 Vietnam vets a year, a day coming in, and it will always be etched in my heart. The courage, the commitment, and putting yourself in harm's way. And as a veteran from the Vietnam era, I salute you for all you've done for our great nation. God bless you, and thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I don't know if Ken's going to say a few words, but certainly on behalf of myself, I want to thank you for your incredible service to this country. We have another San Pedro resident, John Furr, who also served as a POW in the Hanoi Hilton with Senator McCain. I don't know if you were there at the same time he was. But you've spent your career in our San Pedro office, and we thank you for your service there. Just want to make sure you know you actually could retire if you wanted to, right? You know that. You actually could take it easy. But thank you again, Ken, for your great service to our city and to our country. You are a great American and a great hero. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, Councilman Hunt, I would clear up about John Furr. I roomed with John Furr for about a year and a half, and I know him well. He sponsored me to become a Catholic a couple of years ago after all of this years when I made that decision. There was no question who was going to do that, and I was baptized in the church in San Pedro at Easter Vigil in 2008. Okay, having said that, I'd like to get back to talking about what we are here and what's going on with me today. I spent 45 years in the aerospace business, and one of the mantras that you get used to in business, launching spacecraft, building spacecraft, flying fighters, or whatever, is the buzzword of benchmarking. If you're going to be a success in anything in the industry, you have to look at your competitors and you benchmark them to look at the best things they do to emulate, and then you discard the things that you don't like or that they're not doing as well as you think to. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. Your competitors are going to put you out of business. So it is with life. It's not what you've done in the past. That's nice, and I appreciate these words very much, and I love my boss. It's actually my boss's boss. But it's really what you've done lately, and let's talk about benchmarking just for a second. When you put that on a personal level, it becomes benchmarking becomes role modeling. You look at people who are your role models and who are your mentors. Role models are sometimes distant, and the closer you get to them, then if they close in with you, then they can become your mentor. And I've had both in my life. This man has been both a role model and a mentor, as have several people here, and Bernie Brown. He's here. He's been a role model and a mentor, and there have been people like that. They're always in your life that are extremely important. But I'll tell you, my real role model is right here. There's some things about her that I want to just briefly let you know about. She's very modest. She doesn't like to speak in public. So I'll say some things for her. She didn't know I was alive for 3.5 years. I was allowed to write a letter home in August of 1967, and she got it at Christmas that year after I'd been there 3.5 years. So she lived through 3.5 years of the worst kind of uncertainty that you can possibly imagine. I won't even try to describe in detail how she learned, but when she saw, it was a summer day, I was shot down in July, that came to our house. There was a screen door that was, we had our main door open, and the screen door was open, and she was in our living room when she saw 2 men in uniform approach our little porch. And of course she knew immediately without speaking, and her words to them were, I can't talk to you right now, just give me a few minutes, and she went back to pull herself together. That was just the beginning of a torturous, a brutal part of life for her. Okay. I love my son. He's a role model for me now. My new partner, John Hill, has been a role model for me for 30 years. John, just wave. And now he's my partner-in-law. And it's got to be still that it's what you do now that really matters. And Councilman Hahn, yes, I could retire, and someday I may. But what we've talked about here today was in a world a long time ago, and it's still all that matters is what have you done lately? And I'm proud of what I've done lately, and I want to be proud of what I do in private practice will become lately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Our next presentation will be Councilmember Parks. That's a hard act to follow, however.
We're going to put our little S seat. Thank you, Madam President. Jan Perry and I are here today to honor. Mr. Smith up here too? In fact, we forgot that. Mr. Smith, Greg Smith.
Get up here.
We're here to honor two of our major icons in the city of LA, the LA Times and the University of Southern California.
Oh, Mr. Paul.
And Paul?
He's here.
And we're joined here by Greg Smith and Paul Krikorian and Jan Perry. Today, we want to bring attention to the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books, which began in 1996 with the simple goal of bringing together the people who create books with the people who love to read them. And it was with great pleasure to announce that after 15 years, and where's Ed Reyes? After 15 years at UCLA, the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books will be held at the University of Southern California, the state's oldest private research university with a deep commitment to public service and civic engagement and focused and very high academic record and focused on a central mission of developing human beings and society as a whole through the cultivation and enrichment of the human mind and spirit. The Festival of Books was an immediate success and has become the largest public literary festival, attracting more than 140,000 book lovers each year. The festival will occur at USC, attracting people from all across Southern California and other parts of the country to the free two-day public event highlighted by hundreds of authors, celebrity appearances, live music, storytelling, cooking demonstrations, and poetry reading. Nearly 300 exhibitor booths representing booksellers, publishers, literary and cultural organizations, as well as independent booksellers from Los Angeles. Many diverse ethnic and cultural communities will gather and sell and promote their books. In addition, the LA Times and the University of Southern California, the City of LA also thanks presenting sponsor Target and major sponsor Buick and GMC. I am proud to have the LA Times Festival of Books in the 8th District and hope that the new location will be more accessible for kids and families who live in the central and southern parts of the city. Today, in recognition of the world-class event, the Los Angeles City Council hereby declares this weekend, April 30th through May 1st, as the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books weekend in the city of Los Angeles, and encourage all Angelinos of all ages to attend and celebrate the written word in the 16th annual Los Angeles Times Festival of Books. Let me ask Greg Smith to come up and make some comments, and then Paul Krikorian, and then we'll have Jan Perry hit cleanup.
Okay. Well, I'm speaking to you as a Trojan, but also as a world-famous author. My book is available. My book is available at the Ex Libris book booth over there. I just want to say how proud we are as Trojans of what Max has already done as president of the University of California and bringing this here, as well as what Steve Sample had done prior to him. This is another step in the University of California becoming one of the premier institutes in not just the United States of America, but the world. And what they're doing internationally and what they're doing with the Times continues to raise our level of pride as Trojans, but also raise the level of the city of Los Angeles even higher. And so we're very proud to have that book festival at USC. When it was announced, there was a big cheer on campus when it was first announced. So we're very proud that we are able to sponsor that. And as Trojans, we're also very proud of what's going on at USC to continue to rise it to a level unheralded in the history of the university. So Max, congratulations on what you're doing as president. To the Times, thank you for coming to the SC campus, and we're very pleased to be there. And again, you can go get my book at the Ex Libris booth over there. Thank you very much.
Greg, you're not going to have your own booth there?
I almost did.
Okay. This is a great step in the University of Southern California's continuing progress that it's making over the last few years. I was telling President Nikias earlier that if I were applying for USC now, I'm confident that they wouldn't have accepted me. And it's just an indication of the tremendous progress academically that the university has made under President Nikias and under President Sample before him, that the university has risen in the academic rankings, surpassing UCLA, on the heels of UC Berkeley now, and soon to pass them as well, I'm confident. And I think moving the Times Festival there is just a real sign of the progress that this university is making. And I hope that this will present a greater opportunity for all Angelinos to participate in the Festival of Books. It's no longer going to be seen as a West Side phenomenon, but rather a phenomenon, an event, an important annual event that's accessible to every Angelino and the wide diversity of our city. So I want to congratulate the Times and USC on this very important next step.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite to the podium the 11th President of the University of Southern California, President Max Nikias, who is joined here today with his team, Tom Sales, David Galaviz, and David Roberts. Mr. President.
Battery's going dead.
Battery went. Mr. President.
Thank you. Madam President, good morning. Members of the City Council, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm delighted to have this opportunity to address the Los Angeles City Council. USC is thrilled to host the LA Times Festival of Books this weekend and to bring this much-beloved festival to the heart of Los Angeles, to our historic downtown. When USC was founded in 1880, Los Angeles was just a small, dusty village in the American West. The following year, in 1881, the LA Times was founded. Together, we have survived the city's booms and busts and thrived in the heart of Los Angeles. We have worked together, side by side, to educate and inform the public and to promote this city. In short, USC and the LA Times have grown up together. Our organizations remain the two oldest non-religious institutions in this great city, and we both continue to thrive. So many institutions have come and gone, but we have grown with our city. steadfast partners, as Los Angeles has truly become the capital of the Pacific Rim. Today, USC is a global university and a research powerhouse. And of course, the LA Times has survived the test of time and of technology. It has covered our city's unprecedented growth since the very beginning, and the LA Times website now receives more than 20 million visits per day. It's an extraordinary source of news and information for people all over the world. So I want to add that USC's connection with the LA Times is very, very special for another reason. In 1912, almost 100 years ago, it was a story in the LA Times that gave us our name, the Trojans. That LA Times sports writer baptized us, and we cherish this connection with the spirit of the ancient city of Troy. USC stands proudly as the largest private employer in the city of Los Angeles, and we consider ourselves a key stakeholder in our community. With this weekend's vibrant Festival of Books, we look forward to yet another important chapter in the storied relationship between USC and the Los Angeles Times as we work together to advance our dynamic city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I would also like to welcome to the podium John O'Loughlin. He is the Executive Vice President for Advertising and Chief Revenue Officer of the Los Angeles Times Media Group, and I believe you may be accompanied today by Nancy Sullivan?
She's right here.
Nancy Sullivan. Hello, Nancy. How are you? He's also here with Nancy Sullivan, who represents the Los Angeles Times. John, if you'd come and say a few words.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Los Angeles Times, it's so humbling to stand in front of you today and to thank you for this amazing opportunity that we're looking upon. This partnership with USC and the preparations for this weekend has been over a year in the making, with countless hours and people and everything from the city and working with us on traffic and egress to the programming of the individual stages. We're elated to say that there's 7 different stages this year. The festival is going to be our best ever. And as the Los Angeles Times has been in business for 130 years, we're pleased that this is yet another way in which we can host conversation, civic leaders, consumers, clients, all in the same space for the development and growth of the city. We're excited about this weekend. We hope you all come out and join us. And it promises to be, with weather holding, one of the best weekends that Los Angeles has seen. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And Mr. Reyes, would you like to say something?
Thank you. Council President, I want to stand as a Bruin to congratulate you. And I come more from the place as a person who grew up in the inner city. Who grew up in the inner city, who understands the bridges we need to build for our youth. I can share with you, President Nikias, that I had the opportunity to speak with your TRIO Upward Bound program students. And in that program, I got to meet Mr. Tom Sales. I've known David Galaviz since he was an intern. But what I saw there was an amazing lift for youngsters who want to go to higher education. It did not matter if it was UCLA or USC. What mattered is that they understood that opportunity. And it was being housed at USC, it's being staffed by USC, the resources came from USC, and it felt very, very good as a citizen of this great country, but more as an Angelino, to know that we have those opportunities opening up for our youth. So yes, I traveled all the way down Wilshire for an hour or two to go to UCLA when I grew up, but I also know that in those learning experiences, we have great institutions in this great city. And that USC is one of the most profound, how can I put this, motivators and how we influence our youth. And for that, I thank you, President Nikias. Thank you. I thank the board. I thank my colleagues who are Trojan alumni, that we can get past this rivalry thing, but really speak to the need of this great city and the needs of our youth. And that, to me, is the ultimate goal for all of us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I believe Mr. LaBonge wants to say something as well.
Hey, Mr. President, I'm going to call it co-publisher because I don't know who's the publisher today. You know, it changes. No offense to the LA Times. But this is history. History of our city is based on the University of Southern California. And God bless UCLA, and I'm very proud my mentor was a Bruin, Milt Davis. But UCLA was originally University of California Southern Branch as it started off. But the history has come with these partnerships. And the University of Southern California has been the greatest partner with the city of Los Angeles. And all the good things that have happened in central Los Angeles, much has been based on the fact that USC did not move in 1965 to Irvine, where they had all the land in the world, or Malibu, where they had all the sun in the world. Mr. President, you guys have committed to this city, and I'm just guessing over $4 billion in the last 40 years of improvement. And Ms. Perry and Mr. Parks are your two best friends. And now with the Los Angeles Time and this festival, which is so good, to celebrate Los Angeles is what it's all about. And what the university has done is like a flower, it's blooming, and it's spreading out throughout the central part of the city. So I'm proud to salute both the University of Southern California, the Los Angeles Times, except for a few editorials that I don't like that you do. But this is what it's all about. And what's going to happen is someone's going to go to that festival this weekend and get on a rocket ship to success, because through reading is the way you do it. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you very much. Go Trojans.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Tom, I know you weren't throwing a disparaging remark against my alma mater, Pepperdine, by that Malibu comment.
No, I wasn't at all.
Okay,
not at all.
Good. Anyway, congratulations, everyone, and good luck on a successful festival.
All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That will complete our presentations. Did we miss any presentations, Madam Clerk? Are we okay? With that, let's go ahead and we'll return to items that have been called special. Item 3 will be the first one.
We have a 3A.
Oh, sorry. We have 2. Before we have a card on that, John Walsh, if you'd like to come forward on item number 2, we'll go to do that, and then we'll come back for our general public comment.
John Walsh, blogging at Hollywood Highlands, HIGHLANDS.org. We put up a new post yesterday. It's right there. Go check it out. HollywoodDems@gmail.com. The issue here on number 2 is that we completely support. We support you on some issues. This is one. And I'd just like to dedicate my speech with this, my public comment, to the 1 million children and old people and women who were bombed and killed in Vietnam. I guess it's politically incorrect to mention that. Rosendahl isn't here. How dare you celebrate genocide?
Well, would you like that for your general public comment, Mr. Walsh?
Thanks, Ben.
Did you want to come? You can come forward. You started going into general public comment. That wasn't what we were talking about on item 2, so why don't we go ahead into general public comment as we vote on item 2.
Well, then give me my 2 minutes.
Please prepare the roll on 2 and tabulate the vote. Thank you.
11 ayes.
Go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
I'm waiting. It's 1:58. Anybody but Zev for mayor. Incidentally, we are backing all the candidates with Zev because he is a politically correct racist. Eli Broad and the mayor are in a gigantic feud. In fact, the mayor went back to Chicago today. He didn't show up at the MTA meeting yesterday. He went back to talk to Rahm Emanuel. He needs the $45,000, and not just $45,000 to pay off the fine. So he is asking him, now what does the mayor have that Barry Obama wants? That is business for a corporation, and this story is going to break internationally, called Loop Financial. The mayor is giving business to Loop Financial that is hooked in with Rahm Emanuel and the mayor. He wasn't born in Kenya, but his chief aide, Rahm Emanuel, is a crook. And these morons that are going after him on Kenya are total morons. Let me tell you, yes, Mr. Trutanish gave $1.5 million, $490,000 on a Brown Act violation. Why did you pay $490,000 to the farmers, to the South Central farmers? Because you violated the law. $500,000 in legal fees? That's insane. Bennett Kaiser for school board. Luis Sanchez he's a thug. You want to know what a thug is? And remember, I say it here, Rosendahl isn't here, he called me a liar. It was a gay hate crime against Brian Stowe, and the people behind it are the 18th Street Gang, and Mr. Oscar Garcetti named after the statue. He caused $35,000 fine because he took free tickets. I just want you to know that as far as this agency is concerned, 18th Street Gang is responsible for beating him up.
We'll reconsider item number 2. We had one other card, and then we'll come back for the rest of public comment. Arnold Sachs, if you'd like to come forward, please open the roll on reconsideration. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you, and this is on the final track map at 1427 North Gaffey Street.
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Please welcome students from Cal State Northridge, Cal State Dominguez Hills. Give them a big hand.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Sachs, go ahead.
With all the comments lately regarding the governor's proposal to eliminate CRA, the economic zones, my concerns are, we had a problem once before with these Quimby funds. What is the status of the Quimby funds? And the ability of projects. Now, you just might have heard that AEG sold some property for development of hotels that was part of an redevelopment area, but there's no housing going up. There's no parkland going up. Why and how are the Quimby funds so specific that allow these loopholes for these projects to be moved forward without providing access for the public to parklands or property that should be developed and provide parklands for public use? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll vote on 2 again if we can prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you. That's approved again. We'll go back to general public comment. Candido Maris is our next speaker. He's in Van Nuys. We'll come back, and Dr. Clyde Williams will follow in council chambers. Good morning, Mr. Maris.
Here Wednesday, and I told you I'd be back on Friday. I hope you watched the story on Channel 2, David Goldstein's story on city workers using city vehicles for personal use. I brought that to you last year, Mr. President. I also brought it to you again in January. Then just last week at DWP, I mentioned it again. Yet it took David Goldstein's story to break this. The sad part about it is that Mr. Goldstein seems to only see one group of people. With the thousands of workers throughout this city, and it's just because we have bad habits, bad traditions in this city that we need to break. It's about change. But what does he do? He seems to pick the same individuals. Now, we know this is all taking place. It doesn't just happen in the mayor's office. It happens in the city controller's office. It happens in every city council office. This is just bad practice, and all we have to do is break that bad habit. We don't need to point at anybody. All we have to do is stop the bad habits. I told Mr. Goldstein about contract issues, but he didn't make any reports on that. He asked me about the names of the individuals. I guess he didn't like the name of the individuals or the group of people that were there. I told him about the P cards and how purchase cards were being used and abused there. He didn't want to include that. So, Mr. Goldstein, I hope that you'll do some more investigative reporting, and I hope that you'll select different groups when you go out to embarrass someone. Again, this is not about embarrassing. This is about change. And the great president, Woodrow Wilson, said that if you want to make enemies, try to make change. So that's what's taking place in this city. The ratepayers and the citizens of this city deserve better, and so we're going through that change. And if I can end with the great Robert Kennedy, who said, few are willing to brave the disapproval of their fellow colleagues, the wrath of their society. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence. Yet it is the one essential vital quality for those who seek to change a world that yields most painfully to change. That's what's happening to the city of Los Angeles. We're going through change, Mr. President, but it has to take place. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Clyde Williams is next. After that is Arnold Sachs, and he'll be followed by Francisco Rivera.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. We're kind of interested as to what the city commented on for the SR 710 North Extension Notice of Preparation. Did the city of Los Angeles make any comments regarding this project? Because about a third of its project area includes the city of Los Angeles. That is, of the 100 square miles that Caltrans gave us as a project area, about 30 square miles of it is within the city of Los Angeles. However, they didn't give us a project. They said, oh, any project. So some of us gave them about 40 different alternative projects, most of which lie outside of the city of Los Angeles. Our basic concept is that if El Hamra has the problem, El Hamra should have the solution within their property. However, now, what's going to happen with the scoping? The scoping has been closed. The scoping will then be produced in a report and submitted to MTA. We have 5 representatives on the MTA board. What are they going to do in order to support the resolution from the City Council of Los Angeles regarding the 710 North Extension? So we're kind of interested because right now, Mr. Cedillo, representative for a large area within Los Angeles, has a bill called AB 353, which would rescind part of the California Transportation Code related to vetoing of projects. If it goes through, then the city of Los Angeles could veto any SR 710 North Extension in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Arnold Sachs is next. After that is Francisco Rivera. After Mr. Rivera will be Ms. Eleanor Harrison. Sorry, it was Mr. Sachs and then you, sir.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rivera, and we'll follow Mr. Sachs. Thank you, Mr. Sachs.
Good morning, Mr. Council President. Dear honorable members of the City Council, my name is Francisco Rivera, and I am the President of the National Central American Roundtable. And I am here today, to congratulate the Office of Council Member at RIS because of the declaring today, the Day of the Nicaraguan. But also the whole City Council should be recognized because we have also the Day of the Salvadoran, which is in the first week of August. But also we have, the Day of the Honduran that is celebrated in the month of October. And also at the end of August, we had the Guatemala Week that also has been recognized by the city of Los Angeles. We in the Central American community feel so proud, about the recognition by the city of Los Angeles of our presence. And, we're very happy that the Central American Cultural District is forthcoming. So in the next few months, we will be, all of us, celebrating the contribution and the historical participation and presence of Central Americans in the city of Los Angeles. So, and again, Council Member Reyes, thank you so much for your support to the Central American community and to all of you. And congratulate, Janice Hahn, that is a congresswoman in the making, and that is also to be celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Sachs is next, then after Mr. Sachs will be Ms. Eleanor Harrison, and then Mr. Ben Fortson.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. You might have read, and I mentioned it when we was talking about the Quimby funds, that AEG just sold some property for 2 hotels to be developed. So what's ironic is they're selling property to develop 2 hotels, $128 million. They've gotten a $700 million upfront contract for stadium rights, and yet they want the city to spend $350 million in bonds to help them build a stadium that they can entice a football team to come that they're not going to own. So maybe Janice Hahn wants the public to buy the Dodgers. Maybe she can get the public to buy a football team like the Green Bay Packers. They won't have to use federal legislation. Also curious, there's concerns about the amount of taxable income that would be created, like $2 to $3 million in property taxes. And there's a story in here. This is from February 19, 2011. The most recent public analysis of Staples Center in 2003 regarding generated revenue finds that the city of LA is receiving $3.85 million a year in net new revenue. But it doesn't say anything about property taxes. Why is that so, and why is it from 2003? This article is from February 19, 2011. Here's some stories. An LA architectural school wants to spend $23.1 million for a 1.4 mile long with 37 foot wide lot. LAWA has a project. They want to lease $156,000 for leasing property by the airport. What will be the lease? What will be the sale? And let's not forget, last year when you talked about the parking lot garages, you needed to cover the outstanding debt. The outstanding debt on the convention center, $450 million.
Ms. Eleanor Harrison is our next speaker, and then Mr. Ben Fortson.
Well, thank you, sir.
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of many African Americans. We've all heard and seen the racist individual that depicted President Obama's face on the chimp, which is a direct insult. It's dishonorable, disrespectful, and harassment. The most fundamental reason for black people suffering the blunt of racism and being victims of well-devised discriminatory tactics is because the United States has allowed it by withholding justice from us. America must be held accountable and accept responsibility for the abuse, torture, and torment that she has inflicted and allowed others to inflict upon us, which is still occurring to this very day. America is a fugitive from justice, not only by reason of the atrocities and genocide that the United States has committed against African Americans, but also against humanity as a whole. The U.S. diligently seeks justice for itself and selective others, but not for black people. But what about justice, democracy, equality, liberty, and freedom for us? Surrender justice to African Americans who fully deserve and cry out for justice. That is way past due. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you for your patience this morning. Mr. Fortson.
Hello, how you doing? I'm just here to comment and speak out in regards to the President Barack Obama. Republican Donald Trump has been and continues to harass and insult the President of the United States of America. Marilyn Davenport of the Republican Tea Party superimposed and circulated the President of the United States' face on a monkey to her cronies. Comparing black people to apes for centuries in the United States of America has always been a racist way of harassing, insulting, and a way to ridicule black people. This confirms that racism is alive and sick in the United States of America. African Americans has always suffered the blunt of racism for centuries in the United States by many amongst the majority. This proves that it is customary, patriotic, accepted, permitted, and simply the American way of dealing with black people. Tormenting African Americans is a fundamental part of America's disposition and are the very fibers and makeup of the U.S. flag. There is no doubt that it's open season on African Americans, especially black males. Just look at how President Obama is being harassed and treated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have Walter Bechtel as a final speaker for general public comment.
Good morning. I wanted to say something today about the royal wedding. I think that KNX and the other news people spend a little too much time. I think we need to, on that wedding, we need to remember that we are in a state of rebellion against the country of England, and one of the main reasons is the way that the royalty treated us and still treat us. If you think that the oil spill off the Gulf of Mexico was an accident, you're wrong. That's not the only thing they do. And as far as BMI consent decree, anybody who's involved with that remembers that England does not comply with those rules. They don't care. If it's stolen property, they copyright it, they do anything they want with it. So I wholeheartedly disapprove of all the coverage our media is given to that marriage. Also, I wanted to say something. I don't think a lot of people out there really think that only black people are victims of racism. Personally, I'm tired of being grouped as white people. I have a lot of ancestry, Irish, German, American Indian ancestry, but because my skin is lighter, I'm being stereotyped as people that get together and make these little plans about what to say about black people and do things to black people. I don't do that. I don't participate in that. I'm tired of being called whitey, honky, peckerwood, dead, lily white. I was personally insulted when on the campaign trail Barack Obama referred to Sarah Palin as a pig with lipstick. But for some reason, we just keep getting, only white people do these things. I think we're going to solve our problems only when we realize this is something that all people do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That marks the end of our public comment period. And so we'll close that. Madam Clerk, I believe we're to go to item number 3 now.
Yes, item number 3, an amending motion has been circulated.
All right, we do have a public comment card on item number 3 from Arnold Sachs. So, Mr. Sachs, if you would come forward, this is your opportunity to speak.
Yes, thank you, Arnold Sachs. I've noticed a trend in some of the projects that have been coming before the City Council that you have transferred the rights of the Building and Safety Department to Planning and Land Use Management. So I was wondering, would that be occurring in here? It doesn't say, but then a lot of times things that on the agenda don't say tell the whole story. Is there any plans for advertising, any plans for billboards, any plans for lighting that need to be addressed as part of this project that might occur down the future? Because it doesn't really say what the project is going to be. It just makes it a general commitment to change the zoning and the height of this property. Just curious to find out.
Thank you very much. There are no speakers in the queue on item 3. So, Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll, close the roll, and then tabulate the vote?
10 ayes.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Item number 4, called special by Councilmember Garcetti. An amending motions have been circulated as well as a substitute ordinance.
All right, Mr. Garcetti, before you speak, Mr. Garcetti, I should tell you that we have 2 cards.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Why don't we take those first? Arnold Sachs again and John Walsh. So, Mr. Walsh does not appear to be in the chamber at this time. So, Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. Again, I reiterate, the same group that has negotiated for the last budget crisis, has done negotiating here, and the last budget crisis you had amounted to a 5% pay, almost a 6% pay raise, because you laid off people by setting a cap for the ERIP, the early retirement program. So I'm just getting curious, because the pay raise portion of the negotiations didn't come to light until 10 seconds before impact. So what would be held back in this memorandum of understanding? What will the final cost be for the public to pay? Is there something that will occur? I believe I read something about a 7% pay raise due in 2 years. How will this come into account? Is that considered? Is that part of the pension plan? The costs involved in that? It pains me, because you need to speak plain English to the public. You remember that. That's the people that you're supposed to represent, not the city family, not the workers of the city. The public are the people that your constituents, the people that vote you in, the people that suffer the cuts just as much or more as the workers, because the cost of doing government has become so expensive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Madam President, very much. And colleagues, the item before us represents something very important for Los Angeles. It represents what other cities and states around the country have been unable to accomplish. We have been able to accomplish here in Los Angeles. While other states demonize our public workers and want to take away their collective bargaining rights, or just shout in the headlines because that gets them on the evening news, we've shown that quiet conversation, that dedicated, long bargaining nights around the same table can result in real results that protect workers, but also ensure that the first mission we have, which is to deliver city services and get our budget balanced, moves forward. By focusing on problem solving instead of politics, the city and the coalition reached an accord to achieve structural pension reform for thousands of city workers and to protect their health care benefits, an accord that both cuts budget costs and increases critical services. This, for these units we approved today, ends furloughs. Not only is that good news for them and the difficulty that they face, employees like our own who have taken furloughs as well, I take them, I know what that is like to see folks when they show up, but also for our constituents. When they come to a city counter during the week that they work and they see closed for furloughs, that is not A, the message that they should see, but B, the services that they expect from their tax money. So this MOU approval today moves forward with those that have approved this, a protection of their health care, but also the end of furloughs, moving forward with the services that the city has come to depend on. For those that have not approved, what we move forward with as well, and on Tuesday this will come before us, is the freeze on the future growth of the retiree health care benefit. That is something that we're going to be having before us on Tuesday, and we must move forward with. But the savings that we have before us today total tens of millions of dollars immediately and on an ongoing structural basis. Also, for those units that haven't approved, and I know that different units have said, hey, we want to potentially do a revote, we want to talk to us, and I'll let Mr. Smith and others speak to that. We have a very, very short timeline. We have to have a balanced budget, and for those units that have approved this, we are going to live up to our word with them. With those that we cannot get an agreement with, the furloughs are going to be in place. That's 6 more for this year and 36 for the coming year for those folks that are getting the raise under the coalition agreement. That's 42 furlough days in the next 14 months. For those folks as well, there is no protection on the growth of their the cost of their retiree health care for 2 parties, and on Tuesday I believe this body will take action on that, and I encourage this body to stand strong and to move forward on that so that we do have a balanced budget. But really, this is a day for the overwhelming majority. I think I said it was 57%. It's actually 70% of the employees in these units, 57% I think on general fund. But it's a really brave day, and I want to thank all of those union members, many of them who weren't furloughed. Those are the ones who are incredible. They stepped up and actually said, even though I'm not being furloughed, I'm going to do something for my fellow co-worker. I'm going to make sure that he or she has a better condition for their families. I'm going to help sacrifice as part of this larger city family people like the librarians, some of our special funded people who voted yes, even though they would have been less badly hurt by the consequences of voting no. And that was pretty heroic. I also want to thank my Chief of Staff, again, Ana Guerrero, who did an amazing job, the Mayor's staff, the CAO, and the coalition leadership for their commitment on nights, on weekends, whatever it took to work together to find a way to achieve structural reform and to restore services for the people of Los Angeles. Simply put, we worked too hard to do the right thing for the people of Los Angeles, and today we have succeeded. I urge your aye vote in making sure that we now live up to our word on this. As for the rest of the units, I think it's clear. We move forward immediately with the furloughs and retiree benefits freeze, and the public should be aware that the city has created clear alternatives to ensure that this budget is balanced no matter what. So when folks have said, for those who didn't pass it, are you worried? Is that a deficit? No. This budget is balanced. There was two pathways, depending on whether people voted yes or no. An overwhelming majority said yes, but for those that have said no, we have a clear path forward, and the Budget Committee has already taken that up. I know Mr. Smith will speak to as well a motion for in terms of the timeline for anybody to reconsider, but that is a very narrow window. Thank you, and I urge your support, and congratulations to everybody.
There are no additional speakers in the queue. Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll on this item? Close the roll. We're voting on this as amended. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right, thank you very much. What's our next order of business?
For the record, that ordinance will carry over for 30 days pursuant
that was the
to
first
1168.
reading. First reading on that ordinance. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. All right, Madam Clerk, what is our next item?
Madam President, a special one has been circulated.
All right, we need to make the findings on that.
Thank you, Madam President. Since the posting of today's agenda, 18 bargaining units of the Coalition City Unions reported voting results for the amendment to the letter agreement with the city. 14 bargaining units approved the amendment, 4 bargaining units rejected it. Immediate action is required for Council to confer with its labor negotiator, the CAO, regarding further bargaining instructions with representatives of the 4 bargaining units in order to effect any changes before the next fiscal year. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll on the findings? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right, the matter is before us now. Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we were celebrating in part a really great deal with the coalition that I think makes everything better for everybody. Everyone around here said we're tired of these furloughs. We want to stop and find a way. We brought to them a proposal, but not all the units came on board. What we found out in Budget Committee yesterday is this tremendously complicates our ability to borrow and transmit to the pension systems the money necessary for the city's contribution. And it also tremendously complicates our ability to budget as we're going through the budget in these next 2 weeks. The motion before you just simply does what the ERC partially had done, that it empowers the CAO to go forward, open negotiations and discussions with the bargaining units who did not support the proposal, and then come back and report to us, the council, on what is the status of that. And should they choose to, and it's up to the unions obviously, should they choose to have an opportunity to revote, this would give us an opportunity to have that discussion and understanding in the budget process. And this is the best way to proceed at this moment in time, so that we're not closing the door today saying that there's only 14 of 18 in. It's given the other opportunity to the others to talk about it one more time to see if they're still willing to come on board and join the other union units who have come on board at the 14 so far. So this allows us to do that. It instructs the CAO to begin that discussion. It allows the Budget Committee to begin its final discussion on this matter, and hopefully come back before we have to close the door in the budget. I would just point out to you there is a time frame issue here, that we must act on the trans and begin selling the trans before the budget really takes effect on July 1. If we don't do that, we either over-contribute out of the general fund money or we under-contribute. Either way, it's a huge mistake, and it's a mistake we cannot afford to make, and we cannot afford to allow this to drag on for a long period of time, because if we don't act in the budget process before July 1st, then we have to make assumptions that are based on false numbers, and we can't afford to do that. So this allows the unions to do their job. It allows us to continue the discussion and do our job and be prepared to pass a budget out of committee in the very near future. So I urge your support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. There are no additional speakers in the queue. I'm wrong, Mr. Rosendahl, under the wire.
Look, this is a very serious issue, obviously, for all of us in this great city. I think that the 4 bargaining units will reconsider. I'm very hopeful and optimistic that people will realize, and what people should do is look at how this impacts them personally, professionally, and financially. Furloughs don't really help anybody. I mean, they do save money, and they are, in my opinion, the last resort. And even in the last resort, my constituents aren't happy because they pay good money in taxes and they want services. I hear it every day, all the time. It's not the union's fault or the workers' fault that our country is in the situation it's in right now. Some of us who look at it from a national perspective really think our national priorities are not in the right direction. Spending $1 trillion in foreign wars where we shouldn't be meddling, the super rich paying less today than they paid 20 years ago, and that's the national climate and the national picture. Gas prices continue to go up. People are struggling. So the city is the recipient of that reality in terms of our cash flow. We don't have the money to run the city the way we should run the city. Frankly, I believe in other revenue streams like those digital flips, which I found out yesterday, that each digital billboard makes $2.5 million a month. And I got 20 in my district. When you add that up, that adds up to almost $500 million, and that's a potential revenue stream we should get. So we need to find new revenue streams. But I say to every worker out there, we would rather have you come to work, pay more into your health care, pay more into your retirement. You know, I came from the private sector. I ran a big corporation. I fought real hard to get a 401k for my workers because they weren't getting the right support. And I've been a big union supporter in the private sector. In fact, I supported the communication workers, and I had an open-door policy, and I fought for them. And I got money from Adelphia's leadership, $5 million, and I gave it to my workers and got them a decent pay increase. So I believe in unions. I believe unions are part of making the thing right, and that the pie needs to be more equitably shared. So, you know, unions are there for a purpose. They're there for the workers. So the workers need to realize that a furlough day is not a good idea. Paying a little more into your pension, a little bit more into your health care, it's your future that you're dealing with, would be the best strategy. I don't want to see the clerical staff not there. I don't want to see the city attorneys not there functioning. I don't want to see the security people that need to be there not functioning. So I appeal to the rank and file, to the members of this family, the city family. Pay a little more in retirement. Pay a little more in health care. Look, the health care is totally out of control. That isn't your fault or my fault. We should have had national health care for our people. We all should have gotten a card that gave us our health care. Well, we don't have it, and that's a real shame. That's because of the strangulations by the insurance companies and the drug companies, and we need leadership in Washington that shows more guts and courage. Every American should have quality health care, quality education, and infrastructure. So these issues all come down on us on the local level. So if we work together as a family, and we appreciate that, and we don't do the furlough strategy, but we pay more ourselves, we're investing in ourselves, we're investing in our city, and it's the right thing to do. So I make that appeal to everyone.
Mr. Rosendahl, thank you very much. All right, with that, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Close the roll and then tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you very much. What is the next item on our agenda?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Motions are posted and referred.
That clears the desk.
All right, members, are there any announcements? Ms. Hahn?
Thank you. I have an announcement that we're having a youth track and field meet this Saturday, April 30th at Locke High School from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. For boys and girls ages 6 to 14. If you like to run and you like to have fun, no experience necessary. You don't have had to show up any time before this for any practice. Just come on down to Locke High School, 9 a.m. this Saturday, and participate in a youth track and field meet. It's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and we'd love to have you come on down tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Members, any other announcements? Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to announce to the public that Saturday, April the 30th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., 8th District will be going through its annual spring cleaning, and they will be meeting the community at both of the field offices at 7 a.m., at Crenshaw office at 3847 Crenshaw, and at the Constituent Center at 8475 South Vermont. Anyone wanting additional information, call 485-7616, and the cleaning will begin in the community at 8:30 a.m. And this is co-sponsored with the Mormon Helping Hands, the Empowerment Congress, Development Council, the Central Area, Southeast Area, Southwest Area, North Area, and Park Mesa Heights.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Mr. LaBonge.
Remember this weekend, it's a beautiful spring weekend to get out and hike, get to know nature, beautiful wildflowers, whether it's in Baldwin Hills, Kenneth Hahn State Park, or Griffith Park, Santa Monica Mountains, anywhere in the rim of the valley. In addition to that, on Sunday, we will have at 2:45 in the afternoon, come at 2 to Pan Pacific Park for the Holocaust Memorial, that all is welcome to come. Pan Pacific Park, 2:45, Sunday.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Any other members? If not, please rise for adjourning motions. Would everyone please rise for adjourning motions? Thank you very much. If you don't mind, I would like to start, and then I'll go around the circle. And the first person that I want to remember is Faye Wallace. She was born May 1st, 1916, in Manchester, England. She was the oldest of 4 siblings. She married Leslie Wallace and had 2 children, Brian and Simone. She moved to Los Angeles in 1953, joining her siblings who had already come to the United States. Faye dedicated her life to helping others. After raising her 2 children, she spent thousands of hours volunteering at the UCLA Medical Center maternity ward, at the National Council of Jewish Women's West Los Angeles thrift store, and at Leo Beck Temple. She was passionate about teaching immigrant families how to learn English. She was a lifelong Democrat and made sure she voted in every single election. After her husband Leslie died in 1991, Faye discovered a love of acting and starred in a McDonald's commercial, a hearing infomercial, and a music video for The Cure, where she spent every second between takes talking with Cure frontman Robert Smith about her glory days in Manchester, England. She is survived by her daughter Simone, granddaughters Emily and Amanda, and great-grandson Lucas. She will be sincerely missed. Mr. LaBonge.
Members, I ask we adjourn in memory of Elton Davis. Lived well into his 90s, but he was the architect who came up with the prototype of the Norms, Googies, Johnnies, and really had an input on all of Southern California culture. Lived a wonderful life, as I said, well into his 90s. He's survived by his wife and his daughter and 3 sons, all in the Los Angeles area. But he will sorely be missed, and he's held in reverence by those who love architecture and Southern California history. I ask we adjourn in memories, and I'd like all your names on this certificate. Eldon Davis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Anyone else? Mr. Parks?
Make sure everybody knows the budget will start in this room at 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Any other adjourning motions? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.